Welcome back, true believers, to another Spider-Man PS4 Live video, and today I am going to be talking about a topic that you have all been wanting me to discuss for quite some time now, and that is, will we see any downloadable content in Spider-Man PS4? So, for me, Insomniac Games is a company of wonders, and what I mean by that is, if you have played any of their games, you will notice the lack of DLC. And what I mean by that is, it's not because they don't want to put DLC in their game, it's because downloadable content for games is basically a company's way of saying, look, we had all this stuff planned in the game for the final product, but we couldn't fit this extra stuff in the game, so that is why we are creating downloadable content for all of you to go and buy, so you can add extra stuff into the main game. But with Insomniac, they already put 120 million% in all of their games, proving to us as fans that we are in for a treat and that each and every one of their games is quality content. Because of how in Ratchet & Clank PS4, there was a pre-order bonus, but there was not DLC for the game. Same thing with Sunset Overdrive. There was a lot of different types of collectible items you could get, or certain weapons you can get if you pre-ordered it, but no actual downloadable content for the game. No content that was released post-game launch that we could go and download. Now, the only downloadable content we have actually received for Spider-Man games, or at least the majority of them, have been costumes. Of course, we have gotten extra costumes for both the Amazing Spider-Man games, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, Edge of Time. I think even Web of Shadows might have had something at one point. But mainly the recent Spider-Man games have only had costumes as downloadable content, except for the Amazing Spider-Man 1 game, which is what you're seeing right now. In that game, you could actually play as the Lizard and Rhino, which were really cool additions. Same thing as the little 2 mini-games that you could play in that game as well. Beanox did actually a really cool job with that in regards to this movie tie-in game. Being able to play as the Lizard and Rhino was a real treat to have in that game. And hopefully, if we end up having downloadable content in this game, it would be really cool to see what Insomniac could do. Me, personally, I do not think Insomniac Games will put downloadable content in Spider-Man PS4 because of how I think they are going to put everything that they have planned already for the game in the final product of the game. Meaning that the game that we will get whenever it is released, I think that is all that will be in the game. I do not think we will get any downloadable content for the game. Maybe some costumes, but given Insomniac Games' history, they are not known to put out any downloadable content for their games. Who knows, this might be the very first game of theirs to actually release a lot of downloadable content, but for me personally, I do not think we will see any. But if we do see downloadable content, the content that I think that we will see can range from a lot of things. So first off is, of course, costumes. That is a staple of Spider-Man games, and any superhero game at this point are alternate costumes to wear in the game. A lot of people have already speculated what type of downloadable content we could see. Go watch Legit MHX's video on that, because he has a lot of interesting ideas. Same goes for the Spidey Bugle, and Thamic Gaming, and Spidey Scareboy, and Shokta, and all those amazing YouTubers. They have a lot of cool ideas of what we could see. Me, I think we will, if we do get DLC, we will most definitely get costumes. Same thing with Batman Arkham Knight. Batman Arkham Knight ranged from the movie suits to some comic suits for Batman to wear, and also for Robin and Catwoman and Nightwing and all the other characters. So it's going to be really interesting to see what type of costumes Insomniac Games will put in Spider-Man PS4 if we actually see downloadable content in the game in regards to costumes. Now, other than costumes, the other things that I think we could see in Spider-Man PS4 for downloadable content is what you're kind of seeing right now, is playing as other villains or characters. in The Amazing Spider-Man 1, like I said previously, you could play as the Lizard and as Rhino. And in Ultimate Spider-Man, of course, which is my favorite, or one of my favorite Spider-Man games of all time, my favorite Spider-Man game of all time is actually Web of Shadows. But the reason why Ultimate Spider-Man is such a close second is because of how we could play as Venom in the game and how Venom was a main character to that story. I'm not saying that a villain should be the main character of Spider-Man PS4, but if anything, it would be amazing to play as a fully next-generation villain of Spider-Man's in this game. What villain it could be, we actually had another DLC for Spider-Man 3, which was you could play as the New Goblin, or Harry Osborn on the PS3 Collector's Edition version, and for, Ultimate Spider-Man, you could play as Ultimate Venom, which was amazing, and then, of course, Lizard and Rhino and the Amazing Spider-Man, as I already said. For Spider-Man PS4, we don't really know what villains are going to be in this game so far. The only two that are kind of confirmed at this point are Mr. Negative and maybe Green Goblin, depending if Insomniac Games decides to actually make Norman Osborn Green Goblin in this game. I think they will. Whether or not that is the Green Goblin with the glider or the ultimate version of Green Goblin, like the hulking Green Goblin, it'd be cool to rampage through New York City and see the difference and kind of go back to those Ultimate Spider-Man days where we could swing around with the finesse of Spider-Man and the rage and rampaging awesomeness of Venom. So if they do that with Green Goblin, or some other Spider-Man villain that can kind of cause that amount of damage like Lizard or Rhino did, that'd be cool to see as well. Another thing that we could see is story missions related to the game. We had this in Batman Arkham Knight a lot. There were tons and tons and tons and tons of story missions related to that game after you beat it. There were story missions for Batman, Robin, Nightwing, Catwoman, Red Hood, Batgirl. There were so many extra story missions for that game. But again, that is because Rocksteady's main focus was on making sure that they had the story down for Batman, and then they realized, wait, we have to do all these other mini stories with our side characters, so we can just make that into DLC. Whereas Insomniac is, we are going to make the game as fully thought out and in-depthly detailed that we can make it. That way, people don't have to pay more money to get more of the game. Like, the DLC for Batgirl in Arkham Knight was an extension, kind of like the Harley Quinn DLC in Arkham City. But those other mini stories where you had Red Hood and Nightwing and Robin, those were just extra little missions that could have easily been interpreted in the main game, but they were just DLC packs that we had to pay lots of money for. Insomniac is not known to do that. If anything, they are known to make sure that they have everything in the full game, so that way we don't have to pay money for us to do that. That way we don't waste our money because of how amazing of a company Insomniac Games actually is. And again, we could see costumes for sure. Extra playable characters would be great, but then main other story missions with Spider-Man, or maybe other people related to Spider-Man, like maybe Black Cat, or another side character, maybe an Avenger. I don't know for sure. But with Insomniac Games, I think their main focus is just on Spider-Man instead of any of the other Marvel characters, so it would be more Spider-Man focused. That's why you didn't really see any like Superman DLC, for example, in like Batman Arkham Knight. It was mainly characters related to Batman, so Spider-Man related characters could get their own side missions or their own kind of like story missions as DLC for the game, which would be really cool to see. And of course, the most infamous DLC pack that we can think of right now is playing as Stan Lee in The Amazing Spider-Man 1. That was a real treat. So if there's a DLC or a little feature with Stan Lee in the game, that would be amazing. And I hope Insomniac Games is going to do no DLC, because I know for a fact that their company is so talented and thorough when it comes to making games. The only DLC I can think that would happen for sure is costumes, but stuff like extra playable characters or story missions, I doubt. But that is just my opinion, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, True Believers. We hit over 700 subscribers. Thank you all so much. I'm going to make a video soon showing you my dorm and announcing a special announcement for the 700 subscribers special. So stay tuned for that, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, True Believers. I love you all so much. Peace out and stay spectacular, everyone.